Supreme wisdom, student enrollment. That's what the class of God students enrolling. Supreme wisdom, I study it hard. The study of myself is the study of God. Supreme wisdom, write your letter, get your X. Supreme wisdom, that's what you'll be getting next. Supreme wisdom, some call it the lessons, but I call it life, actual facts, no guessing.
How are we going to separate this? Anybody have an idea of how they think that we're going to separate? Any type of idea? Anything? Just throw it out there. No, kind of like,
Oh, how?
Yes,
we
how?
gonna separate? How are we gonna separate through land and education?
Short and sweet. So is there anything I see you over there shaking your head? Or nodding your head, or rolling your head? Or...
I was shaking my head, I was agreeing with that, man, in education. I would agree.
Set up our own institution, in government, body.
Our own institutions in government,
Yeah.
man in education.
No, it's an institution include that,
Oh, yes, sir.
institution of education in government and, operation.
Yes, sir.
Farm operation.
Farm.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta eat. We have to eat. For the bread, we
Yeah.
gotta eat.
Let's separate, how we gonna separate? About a new way of thinking, the Muslim program.
Yes, sir. Okay, so that brings, okay, we got, so
Well,
Gabriel, hold on. Who's Gabriel?
Okay.
I guess I'm being petty, but I know one way how we're not gonna separate, and that's through politics.
Right.
When we're not gonna separate through politics.
No.
How big can be included in our separation, establish with
I
government?
think she was saying that we're not gonna separate by, going along with the American politics.
No, right.
Yes.
Some kind of-
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. Yes, ma'am.
That ain't work. Yeah.
You know,
Not American politics.
as with all of the discussions and all of the questions for who, what, when, where, why, and how, it, really starts you to start thinking about this in earnest, and I guess everything that everyone has said is right on point. And I guess the thing I'll come and say is that this really is, we have been told this by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to, one, he said establish the 9 ministries. The 9 ministries within the mosque is really, as Brother Malik was saying, is setting up our governmental structure. And within the actual definition of politics means, governance, that's what politics means. It has a negative meaning or connotation associated with American government, but politics just means being able to govern oneself. And the 9 ministries is the way that we establish. We're not gonna be able to just walk, away, or this government is just not, power doesn't give up power.
No.
So in order for us to be able to, the how is that we have to gain power. And our power is gonna be enough power such that the other power will concede to it. Someone told me this yesterday. He said that Allah didn't come to kill white people in America. He didn't come to destroy white people in America. He came to make us into God. And so that's the first thing, and that in order to be gods, we got to be able to govern ourselves. So the establishment of the 9 ministries, which includes setting up the institutions, which includes setting up our own government or governance, all that is a part of the how. So we don't need to look at doing anything else other than following the divine guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, especially while he's here.
He dropped the mic, that was what you did? I saw you. Yes, sir.
And reestablishing the Sharia.
Yes, sir.
The Sharia.
Yes, sir.
And reestablishing the Sharia.
Yeah, Sharia law, Sharia.
Because that's what, the fear of the Arab people and the Eastern people, they violate the Sharia right now.
Oh,
That's what got the Muslim community in disarray.
That's right.
That's,
Actually,
yeah, I'm gonna say this all the way real. So let's go to the Bible, the book, it's called the book, right? In Romans 12:2. And it says, and be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So what does that mean? Let's start with this first part. And be ye not conformed to this world. So what does this word conform mean? Conform. Yes, sir. You have go ahead.
Like in thinking of, Sister Gabrielle said just now, we shouldn't be confirmed or expecting the politics of this world, of this government. Now,
Yeah, so what is conform?
conform is practicing.
Yes,
the
sir. You can
way-
read it right there.
To act in accord with the prevailing standards, attitudes, practices, etc. of a society or group.
Yeah,
Or be.
To be or become similar in form, nature, or character.
So be ye not conformed to this world. Politics, school,
no,
the way we think about one another, the way we think about our enemy.
yeah,
But be ye what? Transform. So what is that word transform? Yes, sir.
rethinking or conditioning your thinking a bit.
Yes, sir. So transform. Transform.
To change in form, appearance, or structure. Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis.
Or be.
To change in condition, nation, or character. Convert.
So be ye transformed. So a change in form, appearance, structure, or a change in condition, nature, or character.
Yeah.
To convert. Convert. By the what? Renewing of your mind. So what does this word renew mean? Renew.
To make
Yes, sir, you said-
effective for an additional period. To restore. To form state. Make new. Or have if new again.
Yes, to make new, or is that more? So this is part of how we're gonna separate. Yes, ma'am.
before you pass that slide, I would like to,
Yeah. Which one? Definition.
yes, the definition. When you were saying that, conform, in my mind, I was thinking like, that you have a mold, like a cake mold, and you pour cake batter in there. And the cake batter, of course, takes the shape. You cook it, you put it in the oven, takes the shape of the mold. And that's kind of, what conforming means. You take the shape. You literally become that which you are in.
Yeah, that's what it say, to be or become in similar in form.
That's right. So, if we're saying, be ye not conformed to this world, that implies that if we take it and switch it around, that we are conformed to this world.
Very much so.
And so, when we think that we're not, and we we think that we're not, but we actually are. That's a dangerous place to be because you don't leave yourself any room for actually growing out of it. Because a lot of times when we come into the mosque and we change some of our personal behaviors, it doesn't mean that we've been transformed yet. You know, we may change our outer appearance, we may change, you know, some of the dietary laws, which is the beginning. And we need to understand that we are at the beginning phase. But the next part is transforming. Now, if I take that cake out and put it out the tray and put it on a plate, and I cut it up in 4 pieces, or 8 pieces, 16 pieces, it's still cake.
Right.
It's not in the same form, but it's still cake. And so, you know, that's just rearranging the same thing around, but being transformed, it means that it has to be something else. It can no longer be cake. You see what I'm saying? And so, for us to be transformed, we have to be made into something else. And so this is a question we have to ask ourselves. Have we been made into something else? We're in a process.
Right.
So the way that you're made is that you're renewed. So that means that everything that we thought that we knew, you know, everything, we have to question everything. Because we have to be made new again. And what is new thought? That's just my question.
Okay, what is it? We've never seen it before.
Never seen it.
What does it look like?
A couple weeks ago, you said, most honorable Elijah Muhammad says, freedom is a strange thing.
He said independence.
Independence is a
Strange.
strange thing.
He said strange to us.
What if we ain't have nobody to put stop signs in our neighborhoods?
We'd be hitting each other.
I'm just saying, what if we didn't have anybody to govern us? How would that be?
Well, I would say maybe we actually might do good because a lot of the inventions that we think, or not even think, but that we see, we came up with that.
I mean, I'm just saying that that's a good question to how. And, you know, we need to really think about this thing.
Yes. These questions are a series of questions and problem solved. So, there's a problem we gotta solve. How are we gonna separate it? Okay? So, is renewing the mind, well, I guess you all answered that, the only way we're gonna separate? Well,
I mean, we can physically separate, you know, but if we don't, you know, separate mentally or change the mentality, that's eventually gonna come down. I mean, we talked about it last time, but, you know, the question we have to ask is, you know, do we want to, I guess when we come to the point when it comes to separation, you know, everybody has to ask themselves, you know, go through this questioning process, you know, why they even want to separate that. I guess that'd be the first one when you start is the why. Because it's like, you know, if you just want to go somewhere else, you see what I'm saying? If that's all you're about, you will do that then. But if you actually want to separate in hopes to make it, you know, the kingdom of God, you know, that's gonna take, you know, some work, some sacrifice. That's gonna take a little bit more than just, you know, moving somewhere.
right.
You know, so it's really even down to like people who say they want to separate. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who want to separate for various reasons, but for that specific reason, if you're trying to separate and do that, you know, it's gonna look a little bit different than just, you know, rolling out.
What you mean separating
And
from?
that's why the mind has to be renewed.
Right.
That part, I'm trying to kind of ramble, but I'm dealing with specifically the part of why would you even need to renew the mind. Goes to why would you want to separate?
But you brought it up.
See what I'm saying?
If we don't, we're gonna bring our old way of thinking to wherever it is that we may go.
Yeah.
So we'll go
We
through
just
the
gonna make
process.
another look, we gonna make another place that's just like this. Lying, stealing. Getting other people to work. Oh, I'm gonna go establish this over here and bring some people over here. They gonna work for me. We gonna bring that mentality wherever we go. We don't renew the mind.
Still in, maintain the same way of thinking and behaving.
Yes, sir.
But if we answer, if those of us who wanna separate answer these, these 6 questions, we'll build the new government around it,
Mhm.
The new nation will be built around the answers to those 6 questions. Because if you understand the why you want to separate when you are building the foundations of this new nation, you will make sure that this new nation would, be in direct, opposition to what you came from. So certain principles you would establish to make sure it doesn't reflect that. You see what I'm saying? And then when you think about the how, you know what I'm saying? I said education and land, but both of those cost money. So out of that, you'll learn how, to build your economy and what principles to build your economy on. Your economy is built off of separation. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So when you're making this economy, you're not going to, since you know you're trying to separate from that, you're not going to reinstitute the same economy that causes there to be this huge gap between the ultra rich and the ultra poor. You see what I'm saying? So your economy will be built based on those principles of how you separate your foundation. The how, again, if you're trying to leave somewhere where there's, police brutality, there's senseless violence, in the streets and things like that, you wouldn't want to separate, using those same tactics. You wouldn't want to, have to fight a war, even though, war is really not good for anybody. But if it comes down to that, it is a last resort, but at the same time, things are a last resort because you don't want to do them. So when you're thinking of how, you're trying to avoid every way where there could be violence, in the separation. And, so on and so forth. But again, all this has to come about of the mind and the thinking of why you want to separate in the beginning.
It takes a conscious effort to want to renew your mind in your behavior. Because I met a brother, I met several brothers that embraced Islam at one point in their life. And then the next time when I saw them again, then I asked them, why they put you a Muslim? And the brother tell me, he said, well, I went back to Christianity. And I said, that's like going back to elementary school.
Wow.
when you went to college.
Wow.
No. Yeah.
I think that goes to I don't think their minds were renewed. Example. In order for you to go back, you have to have the same, you still have to have that mindset.
But that's what he had explained to me. Islam is too hard. And I can't stop eating pork.
Oh, it ain't gonna go. That's one thing I found, that even if some of our people decide to what's the word, take the easiest road, one thing about it, they ain't gonna go back to that pork though. That's probably the one thing that's unanimous, that's across the board. That look, I go back to everything else, but I ain't gonna eat no pork.
I can't even think of or perceive the notion of going back to Christianity.
Yeah, like we talk about that mind. When you got a strong enemy, and you feel like it's only you, and everywhere you turn, the enemy got everything. I need everything that this enemy got. I guess I'm just gonna have to come for him. Okay, that's right.
That's right.
I mean,
That's how people end up conforming, because the pressure is too much. It's too great. You know, it's too, the force to withstand all that force is just too intense. But you know, it's interesting that with this pressure, people, why don't people just break up? You know what I'm saying? Like, you would think after, you know, being pressed, instead of like you said, that he went back to being a Christian, why he didn't just go to being an atheist or something? Something just totally, you know, or non-denominational, or saying, I don't know. Like, why? I think that's interesting that instead of just being just totally having your mind just blown, or just, you know, after you know, give up and quit, you don't just give up and quit, but you say, I'm just gonna go and do something else that's easier. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, instead of saying, I can't follow these rules, why don't people say, I can't follow these rules, so I'm not gonna follow any rules at all? No, they say, I can't follow these rules over here, but I'm not to go and follow somebody else's rules. So it's like we, you know, kind of wired to follow, you know, somebody. We feel like, you know, if we can't follow this person, we're gonna follow somebody else instead of saying, oh, I'm follow myself. And that's, you know, that's what even the minister is trying to take us. He wants us to not be necessarily, he does want us to be followers of him, but at the same time, he wants us to be followers of him so much that he doesn't need to be present for us to, you know, follow in that. And so, you know, we have to, you know, keep developing until we grow out of the stage of, you know, follow personality, and, you know, be able to see beyond the personality. Because this thing is bigger than, you know, one person.
well, you know, a whole
The little
lot
guy
of
was 24 years old that he introduced me to Islam. And I was 32 at the time. And I went from home to the influences of gangs in here in Chicago when I got there. And I know all of the gang members. I know Jeff Ford and Bull and Norman King and David and Clarence Boxstead. All of them brothers was older than I was at the time when I got to Chicago in '67. And I was 20 years old at that time. And them brothers was like 30 and 40. Yeah.
in the game, 30 and 40. Right? It's still mine. But in the Holy Quran, in chapter 23, talk about the believers. And verse 44, it says, we sent our messengers one after another. Whenever its messenger came to a people, they called him a liar. So we made them follow one another, and we made them stories. So away with the people who believe not. And so that's what we're dealing with. I know it's hard to conceive for us to be, you know, just a bunch of original people, a group of original people doing our own thing. That's hard. Again, when you have, or we have, a very, very, very powerful opponent. But the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and our Savior has arrived, that Allah God has come to unite us. We, the black people in America, must unite. But unity only comes on the acceptance of Islam. Without black unity, we have no power, regardless of how great in numbers we may be. So even with our, we can separate. You go over there, you go over there, do your own thing. You go over there. We still not together.
That's right.
Well, you know, I want to.
Oh, you did. You raised your hand.
I did. Back to that question that you all just went through. The reality of it is, and it's been hard for me, this has been a hard pill for me to swallow personally. Like most of the like Muhammad said, when he first accepted the mission, they thought it would take 3.5 years. And, you know, he had some powerful teachers, but he said 10 like hard. Now, you know, me coming in at the, I guess, you know, the Million Man March, one of our high points, you know, and seeing all the people come into the mosque, seeing the effect that we have on the community, the push that we have, knowing the time and what must be done according to Most Honorable Muhammad, that the enemy only had 70 years, you know, 60 years with an extension of 10 years, coming on Y2K in the year 2000, thought that things was gonna go down, looking at 2012, looking at things gonna, you know, looking for something to happen where the back of the enemy is just broken. And the reality of it is that listening to the how, it's going to be an intergenerational work. And you know, I've always thought about from the standpoint, you know, I'm working for today. I mean, yeah, people benefit for tomorrow, that's good. But I'm working for me. I want to see the hereafter. I want to see, you know, what happens when the power of the enemy is broken or moved. But the reality of it is that I was born in this construct. I was born in the cake pan. So, you know, you would have to do like on Men in Black, you have to take one of those wands and erase my mind for me to not be able to carry some of that into the new world with me. Yeah. So this could do what it can do. You know, it could bring me this to the degree that I submit to it. It can begin to start renewing me and making me new. But this, whatever's in me of the old world can't go into the new world.
Yeah, and it won't.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, intergenerational work. Like we had a conversation about, you know, some of our people who parents may have been Muslim, grandparents, and they were exposed to it, even though they don't necessarily want to live the quote-unquote lifestyle of a Muslim, but then they have children, and then what do? Name their children Muslim names. Children don't eat pork, you know, so even though they may not fully accept certain things, little by little, it's shifting. Because what are we talking about? Those names coming out of the name of the enemy. And so by our people, even though they might not want to live the way of a Muslim, just by changing and giving a child a holy name, or a Muslim name, or even an African name, that gives them something to look to. And so that primes them to be able to accept Islam. Because a lot of us, not myself personally, but a lot of people that come to Islam have a middle name or some kind of name that was a Muslim name. And they didn't know their whole life growing up, you know, going to public school, dealing with all this, and then come to find out, you know, this was my name. And they were primed for this. So like you said, this is not going to be easy, and it's going to be intergenerational work. Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking, going back to that whole, because we deal with the how. And like going back to what Brother Malcolm was saying, the brother said he, you know, is not Muslim anymore because it's too hard. But, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, why is being a Muslim so hard?
It's being righteous in a wicked world.
Yeah. I know that's the answer.
Okay, let me phrase that. Striving to be righteous in a wicked world.
But my thing is like, why is it so hard? Of course, obviously the answer because it's so hard because, you know, this world is wicked. But the thing about it is that, is it really hard when you look at it? No. Is not eating pork, you know, hard?
If you actually have the desire, regardless of whatever else you see, it's not hard.
I know, but what I'm saying is, what makes it so hard? And the answer is, it's not the actual physical acts that you do. It's the fact that us being human beings, we're made social. That's how we, you know, that's how we learn. That's how we're acculturated, by seeing what other people do, and we emulate it. And so, if you ask somebody who was raised in a Muslim country as being a Muslim heart, they would say no. Right. If you ask anybody is living the way that they grew up hard, they would say no, unless they are in the midst of where the majority of people are doing the opposite. And it's not that anybody's making them do it, but it's just how human beings are built. And so that's why the message of what he was trying to tell us is about the unity. You know, if you have enough people doing it, it'd be easy.
Right.
Because if I look over there, they see somebody else doing it, you know, and like I said, in Muslim countries, they shut down at prayer time.
Right.
So it's made accommodating, it's, you know, for you to be a Muslim. It's actually made easy for you to be a Muslim. So if we want to make this being a Muslim, you know, appealing and attractive, you know, we can't do that to a certain degree by making it hard for people. Not saying we relax the laws, absolutely not. But we do have to make it, you know, accommodating for us to be Muslims. I'm saying that as us as believers. You know, when we're dealing with each other, we need to be mindful that, you know, every time we slight another believer, we're making it that much harder for them to be a Muslim in a world that's opposed to us being, you know, to Islam. Now, number two is that if, going back to if you were raised it, you know, if it's something that's all you know, it would not be a physically hard thing to do, like lifting a heavy weight. It really wouldn't be hard. And so that's the other way, is that, you know, for those people who might not, who still are exposed, you know, have their dealings with it, they can, you know, teach the next generation, have places for the next generation to you know, water for them to swim in that's not diluted. Then it'll just be so easy for them, you know, that if you just get one to a certain degree pure generation, they'll make it happen overnight. From by the time they're children to the time they're adults, it'll be done. So yeah, it's an intergenerational work, but the more and more we drag our feet with just getting it started, we're dragging this process out. Like the moment that we just go ahead and stop making excuses and do it, literally we could see it in our lifetimes if we just live. We'll be in it the moment our children grow up.
But it's still another generation.
And so we just have to try to keep, we have to be willing to fight tooth and nail to keep what we have, you know, to maintain our identity. And that's what, you know, these anybody of any other culture, when they start mixing with other cultures, you will always see, like, maybe the older generation saying, you know, be mindful of who you are. You know what I'm saying? If you're Asian, they be like, you know, you might marry somebody else who's not Asian. They, even if they, you know, accept it, they'll still tell you, like, but make sure, you know, you know, participate in these traditions, do this, do that, you know, so you won't lose our culture, because at the end of the day, you are our culture. You see what I'm saying? You in your person is our culture, and the day that you, to somebody who's the future generation, doesn't take hold on that is the day we die. So we just gotta, you know, maintain what we have and keep it pure. We can't conform. That's the thing. We can't conform.
Hey. Yes, ma'am.
I agree with what you're saying. And another thing that I have to add to what she's saying about it being easy when it's just the culture. In other words, say for instance, everything outside of this mosque can be going however it goes. But when you come into the mosque, when you interact with the believers, the culture supports the behavior. It reinforces the behavior. And I can go back to when I came into the mosque. When we came into the mosque, say for instance, if it wasn't 4 o'clock, you didn't see a believer put a peppermint in their mouth. I'm sure people be looking at you like you had, you know, just let this slide. If you put a peppermint in your mouth during the time of the national fast, nobody was eating. You know, and if somebody saw you, if you thought somebody was gonna see you eating during the national fast, you were hiding. And I'm not saying that necessarily you should do it for a man or do it for the outward show, but what I'm saying is that the culture supported the behavior, so it made it easy to do. Then the expectation was that this is the way that we live. When you went to the movies, you weren't gonna go get popcorn and be out in public. You weren't gonna eat on public transportation. You weren't gonna do all of those things because the expectation was there. And people were striving to live up to the expectation. Now the problem becomes when people begin to, break the culture and start making excuses for the behavior, the lax behavior, and it becomes, now that becomes the culture. So what I'm saying is that when we came in like a meeting like this, it would be a packed house. Cause everybody wanted to talk about the teaching, being suicidal, would be at each other's homes, signing up on teaching, and that is a culture. And so it was easy to grow Islamically when things were like that. Now, we had Islam and still have Islam to a large degree on silver platter. However, it's not as easy as it was because we didn't appreciate what we had. That's why you talk about the prophets have been sent to generation after generation. And so the question becomes to us, are we gonna wait for another generation? Or are we gonna just go ahead and do it? Ain't nothing to it, but
That's the question.
Supreme wisdom, some call it the lessons, but I call it life, actual facts, no guessing.